Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of What's Happening. Thank you so much for all your incredible, positive, encouraging feedback. It's really thrilling to be part of this YouTube channel and podcast, which is helping myself and from the feedback that we're getting, helping others as well as we try to make this world a better place. So, today's question was sent to me by a listener, and thank you so much. Please feel free to put a comment inside our YouTube channel or reach out to us. We love when these questions are coming in from our listeners. And today's question is about friendship. So our listener recounts how they never really felt connected or had an emotional relationship with their parents. And as a result, they felt a void as they grew older. And that void was, and again, this is in the words of the listener, was hard. And this listener tried to fill the void through friendship. And again, friendship is really healthy and it's really positive. But the issue is that this person, while they were able to make friendships easily, the hard part was maintaining the friendships, was keeping the friendships going. So what was happening is, or what is happening rather, is that this person is feeling the sense of emptiness and is trying to fill it desperately through friendship and through being around other people and through connecting to other people. And while that may be a good thing in this scenario, what's been happening on a repeated basis, almost like a pattern, is that the relationship gets too close. The friendships are so intense that the friend eventually walks away. And this is not the first time this has happened, or the second, or the third. This is continuously happening where this person is trying to fill themselves up with connection and relationship, but to such a degree where the intensity is so great and the friendships are not lasting. And it's a hard question. It's not an easy question, but I'm hoping that Rabbi Jacobson could give us some insight into what relationships should look like through the Torah lens, through the lens of Hasidus. What does friendship mean? Should we be pursuing friendship? Is there some sort of balance? Are there boundaries? I personally can relate to this. I love hanging out with friends. I think having friends is a healthy thing. So what is it that's going wrong with the listener where the friendships are not lasting and they're almost being more damaging than helpful? So it would be amazing to have some insight on friendships in general and specifically in how to maintain friendships. This person is claiming that because there wasn't that emotional connection with their mother, this has led to these relationships that are not working out.
So thank you very much for the opportunity once again to address real questions, real life, what's happening. Thank you for listening in. If you have any comments, feedback, we'd love to hear it. For today's question, this is a heavy question. It's a very real question. It's a question of life. It's a question that really hurts many people that struggle with this question, deal with this question. So what's there to say? You have a person that wants to have a friendship, and they're really desperate for friends, and it's not working. And every time it doesn't work, every time it fails, it hurts all over again. It hurts even more. What's there to say? What does Torah say about it? There are a number of letters from the Rabbi that deal with, or answers from the Rabbi that deal with the issue of friendship. And I would say this, and I think that the question is answered by the question itself. Sometimes people have the need for friendship in such a deep way that it becomes almost impossible to be their friends. Because really what they're looking for is not friendship. Really what they're looking for is, as you described, they're looking for their mother. They're looking for a bond, they're looking for a connection that they never had, or that they feel that they never had, or feel that they had and they lost. And in their desperation to try to fill that gap in their life, they feel that a friend could do that. And often that's just way too much. Often that's just not necessarily what a friend signed up for doing. So I think that when approaching friendship, we have to ask ourselves, what are we really looking for? And does this person that we're connecting to realize what we're looking for? Chassidus talks about the idea of, really it's an idea in Kabbalah, mysticism, oros and kelim, energy and vessels. In order to connect with somebody, there has to be tools with which we do so. There has to be the way in which we communicate. There has to be that level of the or and the keli have to match each other. If the energy is too intense, the vessels just shrivel away. Sometimes the vessels are too great and the light just becomes insignificant. Often people want to have connections with other people. We want to have friendships. We want to have people that we could relate to. We have people that are part of our social circle that we can speak to. But what is it that we're actually looking for? What is it that we actually want? If I'm looking for business advice, I don't necessarily need a friend for that. It's good to get business advice from a friend that knows business. But a friend is not meant to be a business advisor. A friend is meant to be what is a good friend? A good friend is a person that truly cares for us. A true friend can't necessarily become a therapist. A true friend can't necessarily be there all the time. A true friend is not somebody that picks us up whenever we're down. And if our expectation is that a friend will always be there for us, we are just setting ourselves up for disappointment, because often that's just a challenge that's way too much it's an expectation that's way too high, it's way too much. So what is a friend? A friend is a person that doesn't judge you, that wants your success, that rejoices when you're doing well. That's what a friend is. That it has your best interest in mind. That when they're speaking to you, it's not about them, but it's about you. When you're saying something, it's not about how they could reply to you and how they could impress you with their story, but when you're saying something to them, they're actually listening to you. That's what a friend is. A friend cannot fill all the pain or remove the pain or fill the gaps in our needs and pain that we have from abandonment from the past or coldness from the past or any other real challenge that we might have faced in the past. That's not the type of person. That's not the type of light that a friend is. A friend is a different type of light. A friend is a light that embraces, that lifts up, that accepts, that encourages, but does not replace the other relationships in our life, cannot replace other relationships. And sometimes what happens is that when the expectation is so high and the expectation is so great, it just tells a friend that, I'm sorry, I have to disappear. I can't do this. I don't have the capacity. I don't have the ability to provide that which you're looking for. So what is a solution for a person that is, so to speak, losing friends? I think that we have to understand that there's a difference between different types of friends. It's clear, Rambam tells us that the Adam is Medini, we have to have good people around us. It doesn't mean that all of them will be our best friend. It doesn't mean that all of them will share our inner, the challenges that we face and the obstacles that we face and the difficulties that we have, that we share that with everybody. I remember years ago when I was a teenager, my grandmother asked me if I have friends. I said, sure. There are 22 kids in my grade. She said, if you have 22 friends, you have no friends. I said, what are you talking about? I have 22 friends. And she said, no, a friend is only one. You need to have one good friend, two good friends, that's it. The other people around you in your life, that's beautiful, that's amazing, that's who you socialize with, that's wonderful. But a close friend is one or two people. And I think and the reason for this is because friendship could sometimes be heavy. And that's fine. In friends, we should be able to communicate openly. And if a friend says, you know what, I can't handle this right now, that's perfectly fine. Because you really accept each other for who you are and as you are. And if something's too heavy for me and a friend says, you know, this is too heavy for me, it's not abandonment. It's not that the friend is saying, I'm not interested in you. It's just a friend saying, I don't have the capacity of handling this. I don't have the capacity. I'm not a doctor. I'm not a therapist. I'm not a rabbi. I'm not a social worker. I don't have what it takes in order to deal with this heavy issue. I'm not judging you. I can hold your hand. I could sit there in the cave with you, but I can't take you out of that cave. I can't be in the cave all the time. I wish you well. I wish you happiness. I'm not envious of you. I'm not judgmental of you. So when we have realistic expectations of friends and friendship, it's much easier to maintain friends. When it's uplifting and when we feel that the other person's expectations are reasonable, it's much easier to be a friend with such a person. So that's with regards to having friends. I think, however, and so really what's happening is that we have a need for friendship, but sometimes we confuse the need for friendship with other types of relationships. And the expectations of a friendship is no longer a friendship if we have an expectation that is either based on fantasy or based on fear or based on loss or based on some type of other relationship that we had and lost or didn't have and yearned that we had, or disconnect or abandonment, or so many different reasons of why we would feel that need for this type of friendship. So is it important to work on this type of lack that we have? Absolutely. But I think that the finding the solution is not finding the right friend, but I think that in such a situation it would be good to discuss this with a therapist to see what is it that I'm looking for? What's hurting me? What am I lacking? This could sometimes be discussed. I think that a very good person to discuss this with is a therapist. I'm not talking about long-term therapy for 17 years. I'm talking about simply to try to understand what is it that I'm looking for. And are my expectations of my friends too much? Perhaps they are, perhaps they're not. And this brings me to step 2. Often in life, we try to understand why certain people behave towards us in one way or another, or don't behave in one way or another. And I think that it's very important to ask ourselves not what other people are doing, but what are we doing? And what could we do to make a change? What could we do to improve, to make an improvement? So I might be sitting back or saddened by the fact that nobody called to ask me how I'm doing, or nobody wished me well for my birthday, or why I might be missing one thing or another in my life. And that's natural. But a different way of living is to ask ourselves, or to tell ourselves, if this is something that's so important to me, how often do I do that for other people? How often am I there for other people? And to challenge ourselves to be there more for other people, to listen to other people, to wish other people well, to be happy with other people's success, to be happy with other people's blessings. In other words, to try to become to other people that which we would like for ourselves. And often a positive light, and then what happens is we become a light. And light attracts moths, but a light attracts people. Warmth attracts people. We become attractive in that way. When we start giving off light and warmth, people say, oh, this is a person I want to be connected with. But if what we're doing in communication with other people is that we try to suck out life as much as we can because we feel so desperate for it, we feel like we must have this, we're so thirsty, we're so hungry for this, that we want to take it all in, and it's coming from a place of innocence. I'm not saying that it's coming from a place of selfishness. It's coming from a place where a person really feels a need. But if that's what's going on, then it could be overwhelming for other people. We want to have light and warmth in our life. We want to have positive energy in our life. Every single one of us does. A very good way of attracting people is to become a light and become a source of warmth and become a source of, the Rabbi writes in Hayom Yom that this very point, that light attracts people. And we have to become that beacon of light, that source of light around us. A chosid machta sviva. A person that is a chosid, what is a chosid? A person that is a chosid is concerned with, is focused on what Hashem wants, how we should live our life. Chosid is a person that lives for something much greater than themselves. And when we live for something greater than ourselves, we become that source of light, that source of inspiration to people around us, and that inspires them. That I'm not talking about inspiration in very profound ways, and in ways that changes our lives, but that becomes attractive. So why are people running away from this type of friendship? I can only guess. It could be for many different reasons. It could be their life is so overwhelming, and when they hear something else that's overwhelming, that just pushes them over. They're just like, I can't. And we can never control what other people do. We can hardly control what we do. And that's what our focus has to be. So what's happening is we want relationships. We understand the value of relationships, especially if it's hurting you. Obviously, if you brought it up, that means that it's hurting you. So you understand the value. That means you have the sensitivity, and that you have the you're open to this idea. So that it could be a place of growth, where you say to yourself, you know, I'm going to be the best friend to other people. I'm going to bring light and warmth, and not by forcing them. I'm using the analogy of a light, because a light just shines. A source of heat just gives off heat. It doesn't become preoccupied with the people sitting in the room. Do you have enough light? Do you need more light? Could I shine more light on you? Why don't you compliment me for giving you light? Just being a source of light is just to be there. I'm open. I'm willing to give. I'm willing to help. I'm willing to offer whatever I'm able to give, without being aggressive about it, without being pushy about it, and that could bring a lot of healing in the world. So, my answer is in short. To sum up what I'm trying to say, number one, we have to ask ourselves if our expectation of our friends is not too much. Perhaps it is. And perhaps a discussion with a therapist, or someone who's been dealing with this type of thing, these types of issues for many years, could guide us. And if our expectations are too high, then obviously no one will ever meet that goal. And people don't want to be in a relationship that has certain expectations, and then when we fail them, then we lose, and then there's a disconnect. It becomes too complicated. You have to have reasonable expectations. Having friends is a good thing. Having good friends, we don't need very many of those. If it's a good friend, one good friend, two good friends, then you're fine. You should be fine with that. If we have a need for more than two good friends, then to me that's a question. Like, why is there a need for that? Why is one friend not enough? Why is two friends not enough? Why the need for more and more friends? And finally, to become a friend to other people, to be a source of light and warmth to other people, to understand when other people can't handle certain issues. That's perfectly fine. They didn't sign up for that. It's not in the application form. It's not in their intake form. This is what they A friend is a person that appreciates you, a person that doesn't judge you, a person that wants your well-being, a person that wants your happiness and your success. That's what a friend is. Not meant to take over our life. No one could take over our life for us. No one could live our life for us. No one could fill the voids in our life. By being a friend to others, we can find a lot of warmth, light, and very good connections and happiness around us. Thank you. Yeah, this topic is fantastic because we all want friends, we all need friends, but sometimes that need becomes a source of a lot of pain. And we become too overwhelming, too needy, and nobody likes needy friends. So thank you for the question, and we might follow up with some more details on this because this is a big topic. How do you make friends? I've had this question more than once, numerous times. People told me, you know what, I'm an adult now. I realize the need to have good friends. When I was in school, I never succeeded. I never had good friends. Could I start now? Could I, at the age of 30, 40, even 50, could I start? Could I get friends now? So there's a lot to say on the subject. There's a lot to talk about on the subject, and I think Mrs. Lowenthal would be a great idea to have a follow-up. Thank you very much.